Thank you very much. Abdul Rahman Falik Naz, Shyam, distinguished guest, ladies, I think there's one little lady and one with a camera wandering around. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to come along and support the Shyam Bhatia Awards. I've known Shyam for quite a few years. He is, as he says, a cricket lover, but he's also a very generous cricket lover. He says that cricket has given him a lot, while he, in return, has given plenty to cricket. It was interesting, we had lunch today, and Shyam made a very good point. He was talking about the Champions Trophy tournament that's just been held in India. And he said the original concept seemed to be that the Champions Trophy tournament was played in developing countries, and some of the money that came from the Champions Trophy then went back to the developing nations to improve their cricket. And he's quite right. When you think back, the first tournament was held in Bangladesh, and then the next one was held in Kenya. And I noticed that at the awards last year that Ravi Shastri was talking about the World Cup coming to this region and being played in this region. But I would have thought the perfect concept for this region would be a Champions Trophy. Play a Champions Trophy tournament in this region and then use some of the funds to help to develop cricket in this region, because, as everybody has mentioned, there's a hell of a lot of interest in the game of cricket in this part of the world. Shyam's quite right when he talks about getting more competition. He's also, when he puts his money up, he's putting it in the right areas. He's putting it in an area where you've got young cricketers coming through and they need to be encouraged. Someone was, I think it might have been Sanjay Mandraker, was talking to me when Australia took a bit of a flogging in the first 8 or 10 overs in the Champions Trophy final, with Gale and Chanderpaul belting the bowling all round the park. And Sanjay said to me when Australia hit back and got some wickets and then finished up basically routing the West Indies, he said, how is it that the Australians can come back from such a mauling in the first few overs? He said, virtually no other teams can do that. And I said, it happens because of the system that Australia has. The Australian system, and I've said to many people that the reason why Australia is strong now is not academies or technology or increased number of coaches. It is the same as it was in 1948 when Bradman was captaining the Invincibles. It is the system. And it's a system where you get a young cricketer and you throw him in at a level. If you think he's good, you throw him in at that level. If he succeeds, he goes up to the next level, and he keeps going up until he either hits his ceiling or he reaches the top. And in doing that, he has a hell of a lot of tests put to him. And by going through those tests, sometimes failing and sometimes succeeding, if he gets to the top, he's pretty well prepared for what international cricket can throw at him. And that's how Australia were able to come back after the West Indies mauled them in those early overs, because most of those bowlers would have been through those circumstances a number of times on the way up to the top. And they learned that you can't just keep doing the same thing if you're getting belted around the park. You've got to do something different. You've got to change your field places. You've got to try and do something different. And it takes a lot of courage to do those things. But you can only do them if you've been tested all the way through. So Shyam is quite right to be, one, encouraging the young cricketers, and two, to suggest that what they need is more tough competition, because that's the only way you're going to produce cricketers who will eventually go on to be international cricketers. Abdul Rahman reminded me of the 2005 Ashes series and asked how I thought I might have gone. Well, Abdul Rahman, at age 61, I think I would have struggled against 90-mile-an-hour fast bowling. But I think it was a terrific thing for the game of cricket, the Ashes loss. I mean, I know there's at least one Englishman in the room, and there's probably more. And I'm not sure that I really should utter these words in public, but it was a good thing for the game that England won. And it was an even better thing for the game the way that England won, because it showed other countries what you've got to do to beat Australia and what you've got to do to beat good teams. It's not a guarantee of success, but you've got to attack good teams. If you sit back and wait for good teams to make mistakes, they won't make many. As I say, attacking them is the only way you're going to win. There's no guarantee you'll win, but at least you give yourself the best chance of winning. And it was such a good series, such an exciting series, and it proved to me that the most important thing in the game of cricket is, with world cricket, is to have good competitive series. You don't need, or you didn't need any marketing guru to go and sell the tickets in Australia this year. They just walked out the door. I mean, they were sold. In fact, I think we're looking at sellouts pretty well, certainly for all test matches and probably for pretty well all days. It shows you that if you have good, hard, competitive cricket, that people will want to see it. And I think that's what the Ashes series did for the game of cricket. It proved, which is important, it proved that Australia could be beaten, because you should never ever think that a team is unbeatable. And I don't think Australia is unbeatable. In fact, I think in the coming Ashes series, if England, as long as their bowlers remain fit and if they bowl well, I think it'll be very, very close. I think Australia will win playing at home because they're very, very hard to beat at home. So you may have to be answering that question, sir, as to who is the best team in the world. You may have to answer Australia. But then it could be that your counterpart from Australia may be having to answer England. We'll wait and see. But I hope, because the expectations are so high in Australia, I hope that it is another good series, because it would be unfortunate if it's a letdown. I know, talking to Andrew Flintoff in Jaipur the other night after where it was before they played Australia, that he was very confident that England would do well. So let's hope it is a good series. We've had quite a few controversies in cricket of late. I guess the one that a lot of people want to know about is Daryl Hare and the fact that he's now been sacked. It wasn't any surprise to me. If you lined up the way you thought the voting was going to go, I thought that Hare was probably going to be in trouble. So you've got an umpire sacked, you've got a player, or a captain actually, suspended for games. But the question I'd like to ask the ICC is, what's happened to the so-and-so who wrote the law? Because to me it was the law that caused the problem. And I just create a scenario, two scenarios. The one that actually happened, where because you've got this law that says if the umpire thinks that somebody's tampering with, or a team is tampering with the ball, they can allocate 5 penalty runs. Well, the first thing I'd say is 5 penalty runs. If you think someone's cheating, 5 penalty runs is a totally inadequate punishment. If you think someone's cheating, then they should be suspended. Second thing is, 5 penalty runs, in my opinion, you don't mess around with the scoring system of a game. There is only one way that that runs go against your name, and there's only one way that wickets go against your name, and that's if you make them or take them. They shouldn't be handed to you. But the important thing, I think, in that incident was that the law was there with the 5 penalty runs, and as soon as Daryl Hare gave that signal that he was allocating 5 penalty runs to England, he was basically telling everybody in that ground that he thought someone in the fielding side was cheating. Now, I've played a lot of cricket, a lot of other sports, and I'm yet, in my 63 years on this earth, I'm yet to find anybody who enjoys or even likes being called a cheat. So immediately you had 20-odd thousand people in that ground knew that the umpire was accusing somebody of being a cheat. If you contrast that with the situation, if Daryl Hare, if that 5-run penalty is not in the laws, if Daryl Hare goes over to Inzamam al-Haq and he says, look mate, I'm not happy with the condition of the ball, I'm going to change it, and tonight in front of the referee we'll sort it all out. Now, Inzamam is probably going to be a bit annoyed that they're changing the ball, but he'll probably register a mild protest, and then he'll have his opportunity to speak in a much calmer situation after play with the referee and the umpire and get it sorted out. And the important thing there is that 20-odd thousand people at the Oval don't think someone is cheating. They just say, how often does the ball get changed in the game of cricket? It seems to get changed pretty regularly these days. So the ball is changed, the crowd just say, they're changing the ball again. and you haven't got this unholy mess that was created by, in my opinion, a stupid law. So I asked the question, what's happened to the guy who wrote the law? Why is it that the umpire and the player have been punished, but not the so-and-so who wrote the law? So the controversies, I guess, I remember Richie Benaud once saying that cricket is a game of controversy. Abdul Rahman described it as a game played by gentlemen. I'm not sure how many gentlemen I've actually played against. And if you actually go back to the origins of cricket, I've never worked out why they actually call it a gentleman's game. Because if you go back to the origins, the game started in the pubs in England with gambling. So, when we had the match-fixing controversies in the 1990s, I said, well, it looks like cricket's come the full circle. It's, if you go back to, I think it was about 1730, somewhere around there, they were playing for prize money of £1,000. Imagine what £1,000 was worth in those days. And there was one game where obviously some people in the crowd had been betting on the result and they weren't happy with what was happening on the field. So stones started getting to be thrown and somebody got killed and the game was stopped. And I remember writing a column saying, was this the first example of match fixing? So I'm not sure how this, gentleman's game ever came into being, but I've never actually considered that it is a game played by gentlemen, but in reality, it's generally played by pretty decent blokes. And just on a final note, Shyam, this is the ninth year of the awards, and I think the esteem that Shyam is held in by a lot of ex-cricketers is shown by the names of the people who have turned up here to help him present the awards. Abdul Rahman, you read out the list: Sunil Gavaskar, Clive Lloyd, Ravi Shastri, Imran Khan, Michael Holding, and now myself. 5 out of those 6 all captained their country. So I could imagine if we did form a team, there would be a lot of arguing over who was going to be captain. And the guy that I would feel sorry for would be Mikey Holding, who's the one who wasn't a captain, and probably he would have been the guy being ordered around. But Shyam, congratulations on what you've done for cricket, and I think it's terrific, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to support you with the Shyam Bhatia Awards. Thanks a lot.